He was the quietest taxi driver in the city. For 12 years, he had never spoken. Passengers called him mute. Until one night, someone got in who knew what that small medal hanging from his rearview mirror meant. That medal had only been given to 3,500 people, and they were either dead or silent. Welcome to Human Stories. Before we continue, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe that true heroes should never be forgotten, hit that subscribe button, because this story shows that sometimes silence is the most powerful voice of all. Daniel Martinez's taxi didn't smell. It was different from other cabs in the city. The interior was spotless, the seats weren't torn, and most importantly, it was quiet. Very quiet. Daniel never spoke. When passengers got in, he would simply turn around and wait. When they told him their destination, he'd nod and start driving. That was it. It had been like this for 12 years. Every night at 6 p.m., he'd arrive at the taxi stand and work until 6 a.m. He never took breaks, never complained, never chatted with other drivers. He barely responded to radio calls, only when necessary. Copy or arrived at destination. The other drivers had given him various nicknames: Silent Joe, Robot, Ghost, but most just called him that weird guy. Nobody knew his real name. Nobody wondered where he came from, where he lived, or if he had a family. To them, Daniel just existed, did his job, and disappeared. But those who looked carefully saw different things. His car had military order. Everything was in its place. The rearview mirror was at the perfect angle. His seat was in exactly the right position. And most importantly, the way he held the steering wheel. The position of his fingers, the angle of his wrists, his posture. This wasn't the posture of an ordinary taxi driver. Every morning when Daniel returned home, he followed the same routine. He'd wash his car, clean the interior, fill up with gas, and prepare for the next night. At home, he lived alone. A small apartment, minimal belongings, no photos on the walls. Only in his bedroom closet, in a locked box, were the things he kept hidden. He opened that box only once a year, on Memorial Day, November 3rd, 2023, Friday night. The city was busier than usual. People were leaving bars, returning from restaurants. Life was going on. Daniel was waiting at his usual stand. It was 11:45 p.m. An elderly man approached the taxi. His walk was slow but determined. His hair was white, his face lined with wrinkles, but his eyes still looked sharp. He opened the taxi door and sat in the back seat. "Downtown, please. Wesley Veterans Hospital." Daniel nodded and started moving. The first few kilometers passed in silence as always. The old man was watching outside through the window. But then he looked at the rearview mirror and froze. There, right next to Daniel's rearview mirror, hung a small medal. Most people would think it was just decoration. But the old man was different. He recognized that medal, because the same one sat framed in his own home. Medal of Honor. The highest military decoration of the United States, a medal given only to those who showed the most extraordinary courage and sacrifice. Throughout history, it had only been awarded to 3,500 people, and most had received it posthumously. The old man's heart raced. There were very few who had seen that medal on a living person, and here it was, hanging from the rearview mirror of a taxi at midnight, silently. "Son," the old man spoke slowly, "is that medal real?" Daniel gripped the steering wheel tightly. He looked at the old man through the rearview mirror. For the first time in 12 years, someone had recognized that medal. For the first time, someone knew what it meant. "Yes, sir," Daniel answered quietly. His voice was hoarse, as if he hadn't used it in a long time. Which war? Daniel remained silent for a long time. They stopped at a traffic light. The red light illuminated his face, and the old man was shaken by what he saw in his eyes: deep sorrow, a heavy burden, and untold stories. Afghanistan, 2011. The old man leaned forward. I'm Colonel William Hayes, retired, 1st Infantry Division, Vietnam through Iraq. Daniel looked at him through the rearview mirror. This time, there was something different in his eyes. Recognition, respect. Staff Sergeant Daniel Martinez, sir, 75th Ranger Regiment. Rangers lead the way, Colonel Hayes said automatically. All the way, sir. And in that moment, in that taxi, a silent bond was formed between two generations of warriors. A brotherhood that couldn't be explained with words, only experienced. Before Colonel Hayes reached the hospital, he spoke. Daniel, they told me you've been a taxi driver for 12 years. A Medal of Honor recipient driving a taxi. Can I hear this story? Daniel parked his car in front of the hospital. He turned off the engine, but didn't get out. He remained silent for a long time. Then he began to speak, for the first time in 12 years. 2011, Afghanistan. We were in a village. It was supposed to be a routine operation. Intelligence was wrong. We were ambushed. The whole team was trying to get out, but all hell had broken loose. IEDs, sniper fire, fire from everywhere. Daniel's voice was trembling, but he continued. I saw a building collapse. There were civilians inside, children, elderly people. My commander gave the order to retreat, but I couldn't leave. I couldn't abandon those children. Colonel Hayes listened silently. He had heard this story before, in a report, because he had read the reports from those days. I went in 8 times. Each time, I brought someone out. On the last time, there was a little girl, maybe 6 years old. As I was carrying her out, the building completely collapsed. It could have buried me too, but we made it out. How many people did you save? 23 civilians, 7 of them were children. Colonel Hayes closed his eyes. The same numbers were in the report. 23 people rescued single-handedly from a building collapse under enemy fire. Why did you become a taxi driver? Daniel smiled, but it was a sad smile. Because when I came back from war, nobody understood me. My family, friends, even the VA hospital. Everyone tried to see me as a hero, but I didn't feel that way. I had just done my job, and from that day on, I felt responsible for every person who was alive. Driving a taxi, I get people home safely, every night. Nobody gets hurt, quietly. This is my way of still helping people. As Colonel Hayes got out of the taxi, he stopped. Daniel, you're the greatest hero in this city, and nobody knows it. They don't need to know, sir. I know, and that's enough. No, it's not enough. Colonel Hayes was determined. This story needs to be heard. You saved 23 lives, and now you've been protecting other lives every night for 12 years. Daniel shook his head. Sir, I'm just a hero, and heroes should be recognized. The next day, Colonel Hayes called his old friend at the local newspaper. Maria Santos was a journalist specializing in military affairs. He told her Daniel's story, but respecting Daniel's privacy, he only shared the basic facts. The article was published a week later. The silent hero in our city, Medal of Honor, recipient serving in his taxi for 12 years. After the article came out, everything changed. People began specifically choosing Daniel's taxi, but they didn't try to talk to him about heroism. Instead, they quietly showed respect. They honored his humility and his way of serving. Daniel still drives his taxi every night. He still doesn't talk much. But now, it's different. People call him Daniel, not that weird guy. Veterans especially choose his taxi because they understand. He's not just transporting them, he's sharing a journey with them. Last month, a young soldier got into Daniel's taxi. He had just returned from Iraq and was struggling with PTSD. He felt disconnected from society. "Sir," the young soldier had noticed the medal in the car. "Is that a real Medal of Honor?" "Yes," Daniel replied. "I came back from war too. But nobody understands. My family, friends. I'm trying to be normal, but—" Daniel parked his car. For the first time in 13 years, he really talked to a passenger. "Son, you don't need to be normal. You're different because what you've seen is different. What you've experienced is different. But that's not a bad thing. That's your strength. How do you cope?" "Every night, I get someone home safely. It might seem small, but every small kindness counts. You too, keep serving somehow, not for yourself, but for others." That young soldier now volunteers at the local veterans center. He followed Daniel's advice. Keep serving. Daniel's story isn't just his story. It's the story of countless veterans. Those who return from war, perform heroic acts, but remain silent, continuing to serve society quietly. Most of the time, real heroes serve in places no one sees. Taxi driver, security guard, janitor, waiter. People with extraordinary pasts in ordinary-looking jobs. The medal in Daniel's rearview mirror is no longer just decoration. It's a reminder, both for himself and for everyone who gets in his taxi every day. Heroism doesn't always come with grand gestures. Sometimes the greatest heroism is the small kindnesses done quietly in daily life. Every night, as Daniel gets in his taxi, he thinks the same thought. Whose lives will I touch today? And every morning when he returns home, he knows that he has made someone's life a little safer, even if just a little. The Medal of Honor was given to him for his courage, but his real medal is the silent service he has performed every night for 12 years. Daniel Martinez is still the quietest taxi driver in the city, but now nobody calls him mute, because his silence is his most powerful speech. Every mile, every passenger, every safe journey is part of his continuing story. Sometimes real heroes display their medals in showcases. Sometimes they hang them from rearview mirrors and safely take someone home every night. Have you ever met someone like Daniel? Someone who seemed ordinary but had an extraordinary past? Share their stories in the comments. And if you believe these kinds of stories need to be heard, don't forget to subscribe. Because real heroes should never be forgotten, even if they are silent.